Welcome to the Organisational Inclusionist. I'm your host, Grace Mosuro. In this podcast series, we'll be delving deep into the pressing issues surrounding equality, diversity, and inclusion in both the workplace and the broader world. My goal is to foster understanding, inspire change, and amplify the voices of those advocating for a more inclusive and equitable society. Throughout this series, I'll be engaging in candid discussions with leaders, experts, activists, and changemakers from various fields. We'll explore the challenges, successes, and evolving landscapes of equality, diversity, and inclusion. From dismantling systematic biases to promoting equal opportunities for all, we'll touch on a broad range of topics. But we won't stop at discussing problems. We'll actively seek out solutions and actionable steps to drive positive change. Our aim is to inspire and empower you, our listeners, to take an active role in making the world a better place for everyone. This is the Organisational Inclusionist. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Organisational Inclusionist. My name is Grace Mosuro, and I am joined today by Leon Burns. Leon, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself shortly to everyone, but thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
I know it's 2 p.m. over here in the UK. What time is it over there for you?
It is 9 a.m. over here. Pulling it together, but hey, we're here.
No, I really appreciate it. Obviously, we connected via LinkedIn, and I've seen a lot of the work that you do in the States in progressing diversity, equality, and inclusion and belonging. And I think what I love about what you do is it's very much about generations to come and the legacy that we leave behind. So I thought it was really important to kind of get you on and to really talk about the work that you do, but also why the work that we do in general is still so important. So, before we get stuck in, I'd love it if you could please introduce yourself to our listeners. So, who is Leon Burns and what do you do?
Absolutely. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Leon Burns. I'm a techie, if you will, currently the CEO and president of Open Technology Group, a family-owned company for over 30 years now. We do IT government contracting, mainly asset management, help desk infrastructure, working with various government entities in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, Department of Treasury, BEP, Health and Human Services, a little bit of work with defense in the past, but we've been around quite a few things over the years, and just ready to be of service to the government. It's been a pleasure so far. But since taking the position a little over 2 years ago, what I've decided to do is rebrand our company in creating a platform for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging for people of color, specifically African Americans, to find a way into the tech space.
Amazing. So, what led you to do the work that you're doing in diversity and inclusion?
Well, you kind of look at the landscape. It's no secret that at least in the United States, at least that tech opportunities are scarce for people that look like me. I mean, African Americans in tech currently only make up roughly 8% of the tech market, so we are a rarity, and a lot of that comes from lack of information and lack of opportunity, for lack of better terms. And I kind of felt like if I was able to put myself at the forefront and let people know that, somebody like you or like me, could, take a different route. It doesn't necessarily have to be the collegiate degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be the who you knows. There are some things that can be done on a certification level, on a networking level, that can put you in these positions, quicker than you think and more effectively than you think. That's really what I want to promote, with my time as president.
Amazing. We have a lot of initiatives kind of growing and coming up in the UK around this as well. So it is one of those things where we know kind of the legacy of slavery has meant that as a people, as Black people, we are significantly behind white people, and essentially a lot of that means as things progress, we are still quite a few steps behind.
Yes.
And tech has just, it's blown up, it's huge.
Yeah.
So we've got initiatives like the one that I know of is like Women in Tech and things like that. So we've got groups like that are developing to really support.
Mm-hmm.
minority groups that just haven't had the access and haven't, we haven't caught up necessarily yet. We're seeing some amazing things happening. But I completely agree with you that we need these networks and these initiatives and people like yourselves to really bring us up to speed. We've still got a lot of catching up to do, obviously, but I think the work that you're doing is definitely going to help us get there.
Absolutely.
So in the UK, we've had some noise about diversity and inclusion. We've had politicians kind of similarly to Donald Trump, actually. We recently had a mayoral election in London, and one of the candidates, essentially part of her propaganda and her manifesto, or whatever they call it, was essentially around getting rid of all woke programs and DEI initiatives and all of that nonsense.
I followed it. It was something to
Yeah,
see.
crazy. But, I feel like diversity and inclusion has been under attack in the UK, but if I'm honest, it started in the States and then had a ripple effect over here. So I feel like the United Kingdom is definitely, we follow the States, right? As far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned, in terms of a lot of things. And I
Mhm.
feel like all of the noise that started in the States has really then rippled over to here. And people now feel a lot more confident about saying some things that they've probably felt for a long time. But now that more people are saying it, they now feel confident saying it.
Absolutely.
But what do you think has led to just the audacity that people have had in the States in saying some of the things that they've been saying about diversity and inclusion, but also in doing some of the things that they've been doing as well?
So, to your point, a lot of this started with, President Donald Trump, going all the way back to, dare I even say, 2014, before he got elected in 2016, where, most of us believe that, he kind of ran, more so as a propaganda, hey, let's just kind of see where this goes. And I
Mm,
think then he started to really see how much he appealed to a lot of America, particularly rural America, that had seen quite a few of the blue collar jobs go to minorities. And the thing about privilege is that it's intended to be invisible, and so
mm,
when you have it, you really don't know, a, what you can do with it, and b, what exactly it is. And so you have somebody coming to your front door and saying, hey, something that you can't see or touch is leaving you. You don't really think about what it is. You just heard the leaving part.
mm,
And so I think it really put people in a defensive stance, to, take a moment to, follow somebody who said that they would protect them from losing rights that they didn't even know that they had. When in reality, that's not true.
mm,
Helping somebody, into your space, particularly the tech space, does not mean giving up yours. And I think that's the part that, is being left out of all this. And it's become more of a, hey, let's close the door while we have an opportunity, instead of, hey, let's invite people into the space and see, where they can be
yeah,
utilized to the best of their ability. It's unfortunate, but you can kind of tell how a lot of the companies, over here at least, have decided to kind of like slow off the DEI, campaigns, because I mean, in some instance, I guess, some people will say that it's relatively deafening because, you don't stop hearing about it. But, on our side, we don't really have a choice because it's something that can easily be forgotten, easily be overlooked.
mm,
And in order for us to really get up this hill, it's going to be a nonstop effort. It has to continue, whether you really want to hear it or not. And if you really don't want to hear it, you're probably part of the problem.
yeah, exactly. So I agree with you. I say, and I hear it said a lot, and I say it a lot. This scarcity mindset that people seem to have around, well, if I give you access to this, it means then I lose some access.
Mhm.
It's really, like you said, privilege is invisible. There is no way you can lose the privilege that you were born with. Like, it's actually
Absolutely.
impossible. You will always walk through life having that. Like, I will go to Africa or to the Caribbean and still see white people treated differently to the way I'm treated, even though I look like everyone that's there.
Mm-hmm.
That is a privilege that will never go away. And I think people
Great.
just need to understand that. However, people's lives are impacted by a lack of privilege. And we're talking about how do we change people's lives without, taking away from yours, because yours is
Right.
always going to be fine.
Right. Right. Right.
um, so thinking then about just how scared people are, right? So I've got a post coming out on LinkedIn tomorrow that is
Can't
gonna probably rile some people up, and then for some people
wait.
it's gonna for some people it's gonna get them thinking. But it's essentially it's a challenge to people that are against diversity and inclusion, and it's essentially saying, are you against it because you don't feel like you've earned your position?
Ooh.
So is this threatening you because you feel like, oh, if you let people that don't look like me into this space and
Mm-hmm.
they actually have the qualifications, the experience and the drive to do well, that's going to show me up because
Absolutely.
I got this position because I'm part of the club, right? And if
Absolutely.
you're letting people that aren't part of the club but have the skills, the experience and are going to work really hard,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to make me look bad, right? Because I really shouldn't be here. I
Now,
haven't earned.
question: is that what you call the club over there in the UK? You call it the club? We call it
Yeah,
the.
we use,
That's
you
why
call it what?
the good old boys club.
Yeah. So
That's what.
we use terms like the club as well.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
some of us just aren't in the club. We weren't born in the club, right?
We were
Um,
not.
you know. But yeah, no, I think the post is gonna be hilarious. But I just for me it's really about calling out the nonsense. Like there is absolutely no rational reason to be against diversity and inclusion.
None.
Like, and
None.
if you are against it, then
None. And this
got
goes for women as well. I mean, not even just strictly race, women as well. For whatever
yeah.
reason, that's so intimidating. I mean, even getting into the pay scale, right?
Mm.
It's one of those things.
Definitely. Um, so how do we overcome it from your perspective? Like, is there a way to overcome this irrational aversion to diversity and inclusion?
We've got to get into positions where we can actually make decisions. I think that was one of the reasons why I never really just wanted to stop at the managerial level, or let's say the analyst level, or you know or the just the tech help desk level, because I saw that while they were all great experiences, they didn't allow me to bring people in that looked like me or make
Mm,
decisions at the higher level that would impact us down. I think one of the greatest things that you can do as a leader, is open up a door for somebody behind you. In order
yeah.
for us to do that, we're going to have to find ways to seize opportunities in these spaces that we've, been able to, uh, you know, effectively, assist. Or we've got to start, how can I say this? We've got to start our own legacy that will allow us to essentially create spaces for people to look like us. It's one or
Mm,
the other. It's not, nobody's going to hold our hand through this process. We may get funding through, political efforts, that are tied to, far larger agendas than what we consider to be our priorities. But in order for this to happen, it's going to start at that ground level, but we've also got to want to help each other. I remember that, when I left one of my earlier jobs, or wanted to leave one of my earlier jobs, the two main problems that I had were either the person was in a position to help me and they didn't want to, or the person was willing and they didn't have the grounds to help me. And so, I
mm,
mean, if we could put two of those characteristics together, we'd be much farther as a people.
yeah,
And it's a
definitely.
rarity. It's a
It so
rarity.
is. I think so I've got I wrote a blog yesterday actually talking about the lived experience of Black women in the workplace. And
Mm-hmm.
I called it like, do I even want to run this race? And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, from my personal experience anyway, as a Black woman, culturally, I'm Nigerian by birth. That's my culture. And
Mm-hmm.
in my culture, we're raised that, particularly if you're the firstborn, you're raised that, best is the only option. You have to do well. You have to set the example. Mediocrity is not allowed in this house, that kind of thing. So you go into the workplace with that mentality. But then you also have this other conflicting conditioning that I got from my mum, which was very much, you're black, this isn't your country, you don't look like everyone else, so don't make too much noise, don't draw too much attention to yourself, but still be the best. And it's this conflicting mindset where you go into the workplace like, I need to excel here, I need to do well, I need to progress because I need to make my mum proud, I need to make my family proud. But then also feeling like, but I've also got to be quiet. Like, how do you do the two? And it's so challenging, which is why we talk about Black women and burnout in the workplace a lot in the UK. But one of the things that I realized a few years ago is that I was running a race for everybody else that I didn't even necessarily want to be in. Like, I was running a race to be a director in someone's company for my family and for the legacy. And I realized that I was very much doing it because I've got a little girl, my daughter's 12 years old, and I do the work that I do today, which is obviously educating organizations and workplaces about inclusion and how they create inclusive places. But I had to realize that actually the race that I wanted to run didn't involve being a director in somebody else's company. My race is about how do I create a space where when my daughter enters the world of work, she doesn't have any of the barriers that I had as I was coming up. And I think it speaks to what you were saying about, how we bring each other up and how we, open doors for people and create opportunities for those that are coming after us. Like, I think that's so, so important. But I think for us as a people as well, it's also really important to realize that actually we need to decide which race it is we want to run, because running a race for the sake of running a race is exhausting, but also a waste of time. And a book that I'm reading at the moment, I don't know if you've read it, is called Who Moved My Cheese? Have you read it?
Yes. Class,
Right.
it's pretty standard for a lot of the business curriculums in the States. So, yes.
So I'm reading it again, and I love that book because it is so important in getting us to understand like the races that we're running and what those different races look like and why are we in it and what do we want from our careers and from our lives. And I think that for anyone listening is a book that you need to read now, irrespective of what you do, what you look like, to really just help you to articulate and understand actually what do you want from this world and what are you chasing. Because I think sometimes as Black people, because I know, speaking for myself, I'm stubborn. So if you tell me I can't do something, then I really want to do it now. Okay.
Absolutely. It's also kind of ingrained in us at this point.
Definitely. Definitely. So it's kind of this drive to be like, why won't you let me in the room? I'm capable. So therefore, now I really am going to show you that I should be in this room. I'm going to work my bum off to be in that room. And I think sometimes, we need to take some time to really think about, actually, do I want to be in this room? Is this room going to serve me, or do I want to create my own room? One of the things I'm also very conscious of is we obviously have challenges around diversity and inclusion in the UK, but they are nowhere near as elevated as they are in the States. And I think that's something that would be so good for our listeners to understand as well is, like, how does it feel for you in the States in terms of just how people speak out about or speak out against diversity and inclusion and just the lived experience of Black people in the States in their career?
It's a very conscious feeling. You're consciously aware of your surroundings, how you present, your mannerisms, and how can I put it? So I don't know how closely the UK has followed a lot of the tragic deaths that have happened over the last several years. Trayvon Martin, that's what kind of kicked everything off.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of unlawful things that have happened to us. Unfortunately, by the hands of police brutality.
Mm.
Um, and these have been reminders to us as to just how closely, I mean, putting it bluntly, we are to sudden death by, just the wrong movement, the wrong tone, the wrong place at the wrong time. Um, Knowing these things, and now, for the next generation to actually see these things, kind of puts you in the mindset of, as Olivia Pope would say, who's a fictional character in one of our shows over here called
We know
Scandal.
Olivia.
Love Olivia. All right, cool.
We know her.
Twice as good for half of what they're going to give us.
Mm.
It's something that she would always say, and that goes to everything. That goes to school. That goes to that goes from the grade level up to the collegiate level. That goes to the workplace, and that goes to the family life as well. It's important for people that look like me to also understand that when they are in these spaces that not many of us are in, we are actually representing our whole race, which is totally unfair, but it kind of is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many, former managers that I've had, along my career who have, asked me, and in some aspects, very innocently, just trying to figure out, more about my background. One of the questions that I always get is, can I swim? I don't know if that's one that you guys get over there. But, in the United States, it's a relatively big thing for, African Americans to be able to swim because we don't have the same access to local pools as, our counterparts
Mm.
do. Things along the lines of, oh man, you're timely at work, or, your work is, your quality is amazing, things like that, but, I'm saying all that to say it makes a huge impact on who else ever comes through that door, because, when, whoever's next in line, if they look like you or have a similar name as you or a similar pronunciation, these things are severely impacted by the work performance of whoever came before you. So it is
Yeah.
a conscious push and pull effort to, kind of know where you are. I
Mm.
mean, it just kind of is what it is. It's a very conscious effort, 365, from sun up to sundown, at least over here in the States. Very
Yeah.
conscious.
So it's very similar for us here. I think the biggest difference for us is we don't walk around with the fear of sudden death from the police, because our
Mhm.
police, unless they're City of London police, do not carry guns. So in the
Mhm.
majority of the UK, like,
Mhm.
you could get hurt by a baton, or I think
Mhm.
they have taser guns or whatever, but they can't kill you. But
Gotcha. Oh,
unless
wow.
they
That's
do
a huge
block,
difference.
like, yeah,
That is a huge difference.
definitely. I think we do also, we do leave the house every single day having to be on, like switched on,
You have to be on.
especially if, yeah, definitely. And we talk a lot here about, being able to go to work as your authentic self and to show,
Mhm.
to be you at work rather than having to code switch all the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't think we're there yet, if I'm honest. I think that
No.
organizations talk about it and they talk about wanting to create those spaces. But I wouldn't say that people in the UK feel safe enough, or Black people in the UK
No.
feel 100% safe enough to completely go to work and be their authentic selves,
I would
because
agree.
there's still so much that other races don't understand about Black people, some of our idiosyncrasies, some of the things that we experience on a day to day that we can't talk about at work
Mhm.
because that makes people feel uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Um, and so we have still got some stuff to do. I think one of the biggest things for me is, we've come a long way in terms of the Black hair movement in the UK. So
That's
when,
exactly what I was talking about next.
yeah, so when I was growing up, like, there was no way I could go to my workplace with locks in my hair.
I believe
I
it.
could, yeah, I could get a junior level job, but
Mhm.
there was no way in how I was progressing in
None.
any company
None.
I was in with locks.
None.
When I was growing up, it was very much about the relaxer. It was about the long weaves. Like, it was about, how do I assimilate with, the dominant culture in this workplace who don't
Mhm.
look like me? I need to wear my hair the same. I need to speak like them. I need to do the things that they enjoy doing. My absolute worst nightmare is going to the pub. I don't know if you know what pubs are. We have pubs in the UK.
Bars. Pub is a bar.
They are not bars as far as I'm concerned. I like a bar. A
Okay.
pub is like an old school drinking place. Like it's
It's
like a
like
place.
a wood
Yeah,
interior,
yeah,
kind
it's
of like
that kind of thing.
where a
Yeah.
sailor would hang out, right?
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
don't like them. They're like I find them,
dirty.
most of the pubs I've been to, yeah, I find them like they're a bit, the
Yeah,
floor's
a
sticky.
little dingy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't like
yeah.
the pub, but every lunchtime without fail, I'd be in the pub because
And
I knew that if I wasn't in the pub, I was going to miss the conversations, I would miss the
wow,
opportunities. And that's what we talk about when we talk about assimilating and clubs, because you might not be in the club, but you need to be around the club, right? To
absolutely.
hear and for them to at least see you and to consider you and stuff. So
Yes,
I think there's definitely a lot of similarities. I think one of the things that we are just very, very aware of in the UK is that we don't we don't fear for our lives in the same way that our Black brothers and sisters do in the United States, and that's
that's a
something that we're
beautiful
really
thing.
mindful of. Yeah,
That's a
definitely.
beautiful thing. I would gladly take officers with batons over over what they have
I
over
can
here any
imagine.
day. It's
No, I can
a scary
imagine.
thing. It can be.
Absolutely.
It can be. Now, granted, there are plenty of wonderful men and women who wear the uniform, but even at that, there's still some risk with the
Yeah,
ones who might not see the world the same way that you and I do, and that's where it gets a little scary.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what are you hoping to achieve? Like for you, what would a good legacy look like if you were no longer here? What would you want
Mhm.
people to be saying about you and the work that you're doing to increase representation in tech?
Well, I've kind of left some breadcrumbs, if you will, and I'm very excited about my next little project. Clutch its hands really quick. So, as you can see, I'm wearing my alma mater on my sweatshirt here. Uh, the one and only Hampton University, proud graduate, 2012 class. And
Love.
so, kind of getting into the position that I've been in as the president, I really wanted to make sure that we did something to leave a footprint in tech. And so what I did was establish a $100,000 scholarship for diversity, equity, inclusion for my alma mater, called Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging in Black Tech. And basically, what that would do is give students a $2,500 scholarship per semester to be a part of this program. I'm only going to select 5 students per semester, but the requirements would be for them to be business management majors with a minor in data science. Now,
Amazing.
what's the reason behind? Oh, a minor in MIS, Management Information Systems. Now, what is the reason for this? I'm trying to get people that look like us into data science and business analytics spaces. So,
Mm,
you have to want to pursue a career in business analytics. I don't know how it works over in the UK, but in the United States, we're currently being written out of the algorithms here. Data science is
yeah.
so important to us. It's healthcare, it's infrastructure, it's educational opportunities. It's just so many things that we'll need access to, but we're not being taken into account into a lot of these analytics,
Mm,
leading to a lot of bias.
yeah.
And the way that it's being presented to us is, hey, these are the facts. This says that this district doesn't need this kind of money. Well, did you consider, the welfare? Did you consider, the single parent homes, things like that? And so, in order for us to really get in here and create these infrastructural changes, we need people who also look at the data and say, hey, you need to consider, you know,
Yeah.
um, the language dialects, these things that simply aren't being taken into account. So my goal is to, by the time this is all said and done, have 20 people who look like us, into these spaces to hopefully make the change, and then hopefully garner the interest of, those young people from my alma mater to push for the data science program that I actually want to turn into a curriculum, so that we can really make an impact in the infrastructure domestically. So it would be a start. Only 6 other HBCUs at this time have data science programs: FAMU, Morehouse, if I'm not mistaken, and the other 4, they call it the 6 data schools of, something like that. But, we want to be a part of it. And so, I'm pushing, hopefully, to speak with the president by the end of the year about it. But really, really looking forward to this effort. That's really what I want my legacy to be.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, we do have the same issues here around artificial intelligence and the inputs not looking like us, so therefore they don't consider us. And I'm also really passionate about that. So looking at actually how do we change this and how do we make them more representative, especially as we move more and more towards relying on AI to do pretty much everything.
Absolutely.
My
It's
biggest
happening right now.
yeah. My
Right now.
biggest concern is if more of us don't get involved in the inputs, then we are going to get left behind, and we just can't allow that. So what would you say to anyone thinking about championing diversity and inclusion, thinking it's actually right now there's too much noise, it's too difficult, I don't want to do this anymore. What would you say to anyone thinking or feeling like that?
I would say that you're human. Fatigue is real, but you've got to make a very conscious decision as to whether life is about you or others.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. And, and I can respect somebody who says, hey, I want to live out the rest of my days, on my farm, unbothered. That is totally your prerogative. But, I would also ask, when, your time comes, are you going to be comfortable knowing that you didn't do anything to help, the younger you in whatever capacity it was? Are you going to be comfortable with that? And if you are, so be it. But if not, take every day as an opportunity to not only make the world better, but to, help your team, if you will. Help your team, get to different levels, create access to different opportunities, and ultimately make the world a better place. This is a beautiful opportunity for us to be seen in the greatest of lights, regardless of what the pushback is on the other side or what doors may have been closed. If we've got to build our own door, let's go ahead and do that. But, let's create, let's take the moment to showcase what we can really do, because we are exceptional in every right. But I think we need more of an opportunity to be seen, and we can create that and seize the moment.
Definitely. So how do people follow you or connect with you, Leon? How do they keep up with
Sure.
what you're
Let's see here. You can follow me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Leon M. Burns, or you can follow my website, leonmburns.com. That's really it for right now. You can always check out my company's website if you're in the DMV area, District of Columbia area, for those that aren't familiar. OTGHQ.com, Open Technology Group, is the company that I'm the president of. And, if you work in government spaces, we'd love to have a conversation with you and see what we can do.
Amazing. Leon, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing just like all the amazing work you're doing, but also the experience of Black people in the States. I know you can't obviously speak for everyone, but just your insights has been really, really useful. So thank you. It has been a pleasure having you.
It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you in the States. Come by sometimes. It's a good time over here.
I'm coming to New York in the summer, actually.
Awesome. When you're in the district, let me know.
I will. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Pleasure. Be safe.